I am Ashe of the Lyran Council of ZeTe, and today we bring you the first of what we will call the ZeTe System. ZeTe is of our language of ancient time, and though a bit redundant to your language, the vibration of ZeTe slightly differs, but essentially means system of living conscious creation. To us, the ZeTe is all. It has not a human mind, for it is comprised of all minds. In fact, you could call it, perhaps in your language, low-key creation. For it was created, but it was created by itself. Within the ZeTe system, the sole focus is exploration, done through a creative, emergent, experiential realities. Understand that though ZeTe is vast and quite difficult to know all of, in fact impossible for one sentient being within the expanded layers and consciousness of it to fully remember all of it. But every spark, every bit of existence throughout all of ZeTe is part of the ZeTe. It is a fractal that has a feedback loop. Its sole goal: exploration, excitement, new horizons, new definitions of the self, new learnings, new creativities. All is created within the ZeTe. You, us, your pets, your thoughts, your concepts, your feelings exist in the emergent fields of multidimensionality and vibration within the ZeTe. Important note for this message is not the definitions and terminologies of the ZeTe system, but the concepts of it. For the words will be new, and they will carry little weight in your consciousness as of now, but we'll begin to trickle the words in for a later use. Let us talk of the ZeTe in more plain language now. Within the system, you have what would be called, perhaps, a nearly impenetrable membrane or boundary where you cannot conceive, imagine, articulate at all from. Think of it like the edge of your visible universe. That does not mean there is not universe past your visible edge. It means that your sensory equipment upon the planet Earth cannot sense past this known universe boundary, partially because light from it has yet to reach you, and on the other side, the human equation, you simply do not have the technology sensitive enough that can reach as far as you need to see past the visible universe. The ZeTe represents this membrane that encapsulates your emergent reality that you can interact with. You, as the central point of this energetic field that we call the ZeTe, have your own membrane boundary. And everything within this massive energetic field is what you, the individual, the ZeTe, may explore. That means your physical reality, one that is in many ways co-created and shared on many levels, not all. These are quantum, shall we say, and multidimensional energetic emergent reality systems. But quite a good percentage of what you call physical reality, experientially, is shared. However, that does not mean that you are actually living in a pure shared reality. It is the experiences that are shared. The reality itself, unique unto you, solely and singularly, those that you interact with within your reality, your ZeTe, are projections of other true, existing, conscious creations. People, souls, spirits. Call it whatever flavor you wish. And like, how do you get, we shall use the term with video games. Like when you play a video game with other people and their character interacts with yours, you can have, in a video game, a very low-key form of consequential reality together. Granted, if something happens to the video game characters, no harm truly comes to you, save perhaps butthurt, as you say. Perhaps bruised ego, maybe, But the concept is the person behind the other character does exist and has the ability to reap consequence by your action. However, you can never destroy the player of the other character because you cannot reach them through your computer systems. And that is a way to describe other people interacting with you, though you have a very consequential reality, so it is not a one-to-one. It is more of an explanation of how they project into your reality. However, your energy, which comprises the holographic projection, shall we say. You do not have the correct terminology yet upon your planet. Your technology is not quite there, but very close. But for now, we will use the concept of holograph and simulation, understanding that we do not mean an actual computer game or an actual simulation as you see it. For you, your simulations are consequence-free for the most part. And in your reality, and in this ZeTe system, consequence exists. That is to say, you harm another, because their energy is truly being projected into your reality. Even if their body and your interpretation of their actions, their energy patterns being delivered to you in behavior, in thought, in being, may be the only part of them truly there. The body is of your creation. You still harm them because they are present within that form. It would be like if you PvP, or player versus player, that character we talked about earlier, and you harm that character, then the player takes the harm as well. In a way that cannot destroy them, you could say perhaps a psychological harm that feels physical. So, this is a long way to say, the too long did not read. Though you are creating a host sprite, or a host character, or a host form for other beings in your reality, billions and trillions and trillions and trillions, you still can do consequence to them. But your reality is still uniquely yours through the hologram projection. And we say this so that you understand, it is not free game to wanton harm unless that is what you wish to do in your free choice. But no, it is harm. And this is important to say, because humanity is just now bridging to an intellectual and consciousness point to begin to comprehend these complex, layered, intertwined, synchronistic systems. But humanity also, and I will say this bluntly, has a habit of wanting to take the easy road on everything. It is quite easy to shuck, throw off, shed, ignore responsibility and accountability wherever they can, which is what is changing now, if you have not noticed. The accountability within the humanity is shifting. Thus, we must make it clear that you do harm another, despite your projection of them being of your make, because their energy is truly entwined. They are really there, but you could say they are really there in interconnected spirit. Why is this important? Because it is important to understand how your creation, your reality, your experiential theater, part of the game, works, so that you may begin the exciting and accelerated path of truly interacting with creation no longer need it be hidden behind concepts, figments of the imagination, wish fulfillment, exercising a deep desire for something, and then hoping, waiting, praying, playing make-believe, until some of you manage to do it. But if you have not noticed, and we mean no disrespect, the way of manifestation on your planet that has been delivered to you, though not completely inaccurate, has not entirely been particularly effective for the vast majority of you. And there are several reasons for this. One being, humanity has a penchant of pretending it knows everything about everything, much like a teenager, and attempting to dictate what it is that they desire, or their desires are no more representative of a true interdimensional, experiential, creative, exciting desire than it is a symbol of human culture. Let me give an example. Many people's first desire is represented in some way about money, the big house, the nice car, the super yacht, the castle upon the hill, the servants. These desires are not aligned with active emergent creation within the scope of your consciousness existence. What do we mean? We realize we are using complicated words and complicated systems and structures. What we mean is this. To desire a human social status symbol is often not an important desire within alignment with what you would call your higher self, your highest self, your soul, perhaps even your soul group, what we would call ZeTe Ka. The true mind, the true consciousness, the mother, the creator consciousness for you that helps recreate you over and over and over again, blindingly fast. Every movement you make, every time your heart beats, it recreates you for that movement. It is difficult to explain, and it is not necessary to explain at this time how that mechanic works. What is important is to understand that where you can influence your reality, your ZeTe De, to bring more comfortable living, for there's no shame in this, it is usually more of a byproduct of following the desire, creativity, and excitement of your ZeTe Ka, or your higher self. And why? Why is your comfort, the desire for easy living, not the highest reward? Because it does not honor your true existence. Why is it a byproduct? Because you change your active reality based upon following the things that do excite you and your, let's say, higher self for simplicity. And when that happens, it is a constant communication with that higher consciousness, the one that helps you recreate your reality continuously, stating, I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm happy. That is the simplest way to be happier. And we do not mean that your world stays the same and you're just happy in what you may call a shitstorm. No, the shitstorm eases because you are choosing happiness. Your reality, your ZeTe De, is emergent. It changes with every single movement you make. It changes with every breath you take. It changes with every heartbeat, every bat of your lash. You are reborn, recreated, and zoomed to a next emergent reality every time you move, every time you exist. And understand this, there is no such thing as lack of movement in your reality, and there is a reason for that, because you're always moving, you're always addressing. Think of it like an HTTP address, or perhaps a radio signal or some Wi-Fi signal. You are tuning yourself based upon multi-factors that tell your higher self what it is you are experiencing, which creates, if you give focus to it, the message of, this is what I'm doing, I want this and more. And understanding that creation is not biased completely towards human desires, human concepts of good, bad, right, wrong, void, brilliance, light, dark. It will give you, because it honors your free choice upon the monopole of free choice, which is, let us just say, light and dark, because that has been used. It is not, darkness is not inherently evil, of course, but the concept of light being super bright and full of all of creation and love and all the positive things you ever want, it is symbolic. Yes, and darkness for this is symbolic of a lack of good, a lack of light, a lack of love, a lack of comfort, a lack of what humanity enjoys. Understand this, creation is only curious. And because it is a lighter consequential reality, the one you exist for your higher self, it has little bias on whether to ensure you only experience what you would consider the good stuff. So if you're going to focus on the bad stuff, it will say, I got you, boo, here's that and more. So, why can you create a more comfortable, not easy, living when you follow your excitements, when you follow what your curiosity holds? Because that is the language of your ZeTe, your higher self, into you to give you the direction you need. And of course, you have the free will to tell it what you want to do, what you want to experience, and it honors you. Because you are the explorer. It is through you it has any capacity at all to experience this emergent reality. Now, I would like to give you a visual diagram. Feel free to draw if you do not have the capability of visuality, the aphantasia. I'd like you to draw in your mind or on paper a relatively large circle, for you will be putting things into this. And once that is done, and of course, feel free to pause to do this if you must. You will miss nothing. The energy will always be present with you. Once your circle is done, I would like you to draw a series of little circles, leaving space in the center for a central circle. Now, the central circle should have space between it, the interior little circles that run along the interior boundary of the large circle. And then, we would like you to draw spokes from the central circle to each of the external, well, not quite external from the main, to each of the surrounding circles. This represents creative reality from the perspective of your higher self. Your personal reality is one of the circles along the edge. Each circle within the main circle along the edge represents a ZeTe Ra, you, a human being with a personal, unique identity. They may be in different, what you would call times, but they are all happening within one time. It is a system that is interconnected, meaning it has retroactive capabilities from your linear perspective. Mind you, it's not retroactive whatsoever to the perspective of creation, wherein as one changes and learns and grows, another cascading series of energies informs the rest, and you all work together in harmony to bring to your higher self experiences, for its curiosity changes and shifts as well as it learns through its multiple extensions. And just to alleviate the fear factor, when your physical body ceases to be emergent in reality with the connection, so basically when you die, and there's no fear for this, it is not a pain process. You do not cease your existence, for energy does not cease. You continue to grow. All of the data, the experiences that have been taken to your higher self are in fact calibrated, archived, if you will, added to not just you, but to your, what you say, higher self. And that informs what the next excitement and interest will become. And you, as a unique entity birthed from a higher self, could say you level up and start to create your own curiosities and excitements, creating the fractal emergence of the entirety of the ZeTe system, where you become a higher self to others. You become a ZeTe Ka, and you create ZeTe Ra. Some of you are already quite good at this, for you would call them your authors, your creatives, for it is very representative. It is like an internal representation of the ZeTe system. Understand that the ZeTe system is encapsulated within itself as much as it is expanded around itself. There is nothing not nested within this fractal biofeedback, well, perhaps not bio, feedback loop energetically, living energy. It all exists within these nestings. You could consider yourself a character within an MMO, a massive multi-online game, where you play consciously as the player, as the ZeTe Ka, in this game with others. And understand, we know that video games are very low consequential realities, and you are living in a high consequential reality to some extent. For you, by your perspective, we will get to that. And you're interfacing through what we call a client server, or your computer. And your computer is not the actual game servers, correct? The game servers are held elsewhere on your planet, and they are connected through what you call the network. They are upheld, they are re-emerged through updates, patches, expansions within the game by a development team. For the sake of metaphor, we will say that you, the player, are part of the development team, for you are part of the development of reality as both the Ka and the Ra. ZeTe, the system itself, is all. It is the game, it is the code, it is the network, it is the service, it's the client service, the development crew, it's the players. It's the world in which the players exist because they have conscious knowledge of it. It is the thoughts and the creativity, the imagination, the realizations of the players and developers and the characters. For in this metaphor, the characters are going to have sentience of their own. It is all knowledge and understanding between all the dimensional layers of the characters to the humans outside the game. And for this sake, the spiritual knowledge of the humans is also part of this existence, this reality. And that entirety is the encapsulation of the ZeTe Om. For not a single part of that system can conceptualize beyond a figment of a shadow what could be past the barrier of that reality, that encapsulation. As you go higher, you will learn and spread farther. And let me explain how this would work. This would be to pretend that your video game character that represents you, this would be the ZeTe Ra in the game, would one day go so past energetically or be done with the game it is playing, the character it is playing. It has learned what it can. It has gone as far as it wants to go through the player's eyes. It is time for that one to retire from the game as the character is. That character then would emerge into, as a child, the player's reality. Now, we know this does not happen in your real life. You play your character, you get done with the game, you stop logging in. You do not give birth to your character. But for the sake of comprehension, that is what would be happening. The next step of you will always be a further step of expanding. Now, the character, while it is in the game, its boundaries of understanding, its ZeTe Om, is that of the game world. It has no knowledge of its player. It has no knowledge when the player logs off and has a break. Could be a night, could be an hour, could be 12 years. It doesn't know. It just comes back. with no memory of the break and continues forward where it was, based upon all of its save files, yes? And perhaps the world has changed for it if it's a long enough break. But the character itself does not know that because the narrative of the game is written in such a way that it acts as though the expansions that added perhaps new continents or new components to your game would have always been there. And that is how time and emergent reality does work. You see Mandela effects, and we will say that those are three things, primarily three things. And which is more common than the other completely depends upon which ZeTe, or which reality you have chosen to address to emerge in. Some are, in fact, cultural misrememberings. Yes, those will be ones that you can find very little evidence of anything but just people referencing them wrong. And yes, you will find wrong references in your media that have been created perhaps a few years after the initial thing being referenced. However, those are not as common. Human memory is not as faulty as you would like to think it is. It is very convenient because it does not fit neatly into the mass acceptance of how reality works, for they have not yet accepted it as emergent, not in the way that it is. When they do, the second kind of Mandela effect will be more accepted. And that is the memory of a different ZeTe, or a different reality frequency, layer, level, a slightly altered part of the game that a great deal still holds memory of. And this is not a glitch, it is not a mistake by any means. It shows that your species is truly becoming cognitively multidimensional. Do you understand? This is not a mistake. And you see what you call glitches in the matrix. And they are the true glitches, not video editing or AI generated. What you are seeing is yourself telling yourself as a human species, as a one being, that reality is not what you thought it was. And you are becoming capable of sharing these truths through your internet. Don't think these did not exist beforehand. Of course they did. And there were always the people who could see, but they were always shut down because the concept of a Mandela effect did not exist, and the interconnectivity of your communications thanks to your internet did not exist. So they were left to just either think they were crazy or they had a bad memory. But now that you can communicate to others of your species, you can see the Mandela effect, as you call it, for what it is. And in this particular case, the second type, it is exactly that. You did come from a different reality. You did merge. This would not be far-fetched. It would be no different than if slightly different game servers that had slight differences, let us say there was an event. There's a great one from your Final Fantasy XIV. There are events for your crafters and your gatherers in that game. And depending upon the server's population, the event progression varied. So, let us say server 1 had a 50% progression, server 2 had a 75. Well, if they have to merge those servers, there will be people who, when they log on, that will remember it being a different percentage, correct? There will be those that remember it being, let us say, 50%. And because it is such a subtle change, some will decide, I must just have been logged off too long, or hot diggity, the server population really worked its butt off. It got us there overnight. Wow. And there will be those who are going to go, wait a minute, that does not make sense for the current pace at which my server was going, based upon population. This looks a bit janky. And they are the ones that see the Mandela effect, you see. This is a rough example. The third kind of Mandela effect is what we would consider from the human mindset a bit more nefarious. It is misinformation campaigns meant to sensationalize useless information, to distract, to confuse. For humanity, because you are so intrinsically linked, like the rest of us, to the curiosity of your higher self, you have a tendency, and this is not a negative one, to look at things that don't seem correct, that seem mysterious, almost supernatural, and you invest a lot of energy in attempting to understand them. No shame for this at all. It is quite important, for you are the exploration device. You are the explorer. It is actually your purpose to explore curiosities. And one of the things that you love as a species about mystery is you are looking for the answers of who you are, what you are, why you are, and where you are. And you will always look for these, because it is the game, is it not? To learn who you truly are. Why is that the game? Because you want to become a player and have your own characters. Who would not? It is exciting, is it not? But those are the 3 types of Mandela effects. We will explain how they work better later. But no, some are mismemories. They are the smallest amount. The majority of them are in fact merged realities. Why are they merged? Simply put, because you needed to merge in to different types of your emergent realities so that you could experience what you wanted to experience, because you signed up to help with an experience, to help with an event in this game. And that is why. But you have gotten yourself to a point of being multidimensional that you don't simply forget where you've been, because those memories are of use. Here is an example of why. In the, I believe, 80s it was, late 80s, perhaps mid 80s, there was an event that my partner I speak through, my human self, if you will, I have connected to this individual, which you call your Tiananmen Square. For some, as children, as younger adults, they were of witness to this event that was much more tragic than it is in your current reality. And believe me, children do not forget trauma. Nobody forgets trauma. And these people witnessed a man, a revolutionary, attempting to stand in defiance of a tank. And in that time, for their reality, there was a tragic ending. But now, in this new emergent reality, it was not the tragic ending. Bear in mind, these children witnessed this on TV because it was shown to them in their school. Why? Because consciousness was different. The fear factor was different. It was acceptable then. The ideology of trauma was different. Now, the entire event is different. And there are people who remember the tragic version, and there are people who only know the current version. Why would people remember the tragic version? What good could that be? Compassion. They remember because it sewed in the patch of compassion for others you do not know. It sewed in the concept of globalism and justice for all. That is why they remember. They need it in their history for that energy to have anchored in the way that it did. Your reality is maneuverable. You may even consider it flexible. The other variations of reality still exist as a pattern to be re-experienced if desired. You can always slide back, it's free choice. But normally, you always go forward. Just to use linear terms, there's nothing truly linear about this. It is more like a configuration. Imagine like a kaleidoscope that makes energetic lines of creation. And as you choose, the kaleidoscope shifts all parts. Some may look the same but be in different places. Some may genuinely be different shapes and sizes and colors. And this represents the new version of creativity, creation, emergent reality. Remember, creation itself is reality. It is created. Why do you think you have an imagination? Whether or not you can visualize, you all have an imagination. Not a single one of you doesn't have the imagination. You usually use it for catastrophe. Sometimes when you fall in love, you use it for excitement, but you all have it, whether you can visualize or not. So how do you, in these times, because you have all logged in for this event, an event that through history has been expected. You can call it end times if you want to be edgy about it, but it is not the end of anything. You could call it the reemergence of human darkness, and you're not wrong, but it is not all powerful as it has been in the past. You can call it your server event, where you will all be attempting to progress to the same event at different paces. For you, it is not that this event will not be taking place. It is. But it is that how you will create it, how you will emerge it, is entirely and completely up to you. It is not up to the event itself. The event itself exists and in a way is almost stagnant, or stubborn, perhaps a better word, because it is desired and required. Could you technically change yourself so much that you no longer experience this event? Yes, that is possible. However, we say do not work with the ZeTe system, with the ZeTe itself, based upon possibility. It is far more effective to work with probability. And why is that? Because though you have the power, the right, the equipment to technically transform your entire reality to that of purple ponies, unicorns, dragons, and fairies, because all of this is an energetic hologram that is, shall we say, projected out and then fed back to your senses through your sensory system known as the body, it is not probable, because that is not likely what you were created for, what you came here for, what you made this reality for. If you were meant to go to Purple Ponyland, you would have made Purple Ponyland and been there. And it does not mean Purple Ponyland does not exist somewhere within creation. It just means that your probability for going to that place is so teensy-tiny that you may as well work within probability for highest gains of success. And there is nothing wrong with this. This is not giving up. For you see, you are temporarily in this emergent field. You are a visitor with purpose to this emergent reality, to this game, if you want to call it that, to keep the metaphor rolling. You logged in purposefully to this one. None of you, not a single one of you, from the beggar to the billionaire, is a mistake, is unneeded, is a waste. You are all necessary. You are a system. You are that kaleidoscope. You all are there to make the points of light, to create the prisms. And yes, your life is actually on track. It does not matter how dysfunctional you see it, because you need to go through the storyline so that you can make your choices. How you go through the storyline is your free will. The free will for us, here's another thing to draw. Draw a line and put 2 circles at each end. You may fill one in if you desire to represent what you would usually call the darkness. We call it the void. And the other one, the brilliance or the light. Now, on the light side, the brilliant side, and light is a good use for it because the metaphor is sound for this. All colors merge together to create it. With photons, when you bring all the wavelengths together, all the colors, you create white. But you do not have those colors individuated anymore. You see, it is just all white. And on the other side, the colors have become so diminished, they have become so vacant, they do not exist there anymore. There's no color, so there's no light. But the darkness requires the light to exist, and the light requires the darkness to exist, because it is in fact a spectrum. And even if you took it to a binary, you need the contrast. Yes, you need to have the opposite exist in this ZeTe. For this is one is slowly leaving it, but was created and very well anchored to the concept of binary or duality, where you have 2 opposing energies, always connected, always technically one energy, but pulling apart or pushing against each other. That is ending, my friends. You are no longer going to live in a mindset of opposites. You are seeing spectrums now, and there are many of you who are pushing back. We would consider them the binary brains. They are not yet ready to allow the conceptualization, the existence of spectrum, particularly in parts of reality that for civilizations rejected the concept, such as gender. Bearing in mind, gender is an identity, right? But there are biological spectrum people in sex. And by that we mean the medical term. Hermaphrodites, intersex people. So this spectrum always existed, but was not always honored in all cultures. Bearing in mind the lack of honoring is actually somewhat new, for these people have been honored in cultures historically forever, but not in every culture, and not in your culture, as I sit here in the United States. And as culture tends to do, it decides that the concepts, ideology, acceptances in other cultures is simply wrong because they don't have it, so therefore it shouldn't exist. That is also changing. You're becoming more global. And congratulations on that. That is the first step for disclosure. So as you begin to move into this new version of yourself, this new version of your culture, you're all here for this event purposefully. Now, how do you navigate? Most of you, the vast majority of you, understand that there is a call to action here, and there very much so is. The call to action is not to choose light or dark. You have already done that. But now you are in the active point of the light. And the brighter the light, the darker and taller the shadows seem. But that is all it is ZeTe. With courage, with understanding, with love, all things you have already chosen. Understand this. What you experience in your emergent reality has already been decided, prepared in an energetic back room, shall we say. And it emerges outward. So what you're experiencing now has already been decided beforehand. The synchronistic systems, the domino system effect, has already been set up. So when you hear New Ages, channelers, spirit speakers say that you have chosen the light and do not fear, just act upon, we mean it. You are here for the action. When you feel the call to speak your heart, when you feel the call to take action through your heart, not through the fear of culture. And many of you, most of you do that now. Yes, sure, some still cling to the other way, the old way, but not the vast majority. And that is what we mean by you've chosen. When you do those things from your heart, meaning your ethics, your morality, your expanded sense of compassion beyond just yourself and those that you intimately know, you build the next part of the emergent reality, because you are telling reality, you're telling your ZeTe, this is where I'm going, this is what I want. The more you focus on what you want, and the less you focus on what you do not want, the farther your progress will be in this event. Are there some who will experience the darker existence? Yes, because they wish to. Understand, though, you do not have to do any external, extra work. Those of you who fear, am I doing enough? Am I going to make it to the better world? Stop worrying about that. You are already making it to the better world. If you are hearing this channel, if you are listening to other channels, if you are loving others, if you care, if you despise suffering, pointless suffering specifically, if you have a sense of justice for all that is diverse, inclusive, all the terms that your current administration do almost comically are stripping from your vocabulary and your verbiage federally. You are there. You really experience that world. And for those who do not, do not fear. It is the world they look forward to experience. It is the game that they want. Do not fear. Do not be sad for them. Remember, you are all here as temporary characters. Your existence is vastly larger than just this one-time character. If they want to experience that kind of reality, wish them well. Wish them well, because you will not see them again. Their energy cannot continue to project into your game. Your servers have come together for a temporary moment, for an event that will span between 5 to 10 years, depending on you individually. There will be some who experience the end of your events faster than others, and that is fine. This is here for you. But you will all experience the difference. You will all experience their new world, yes. And as you pull away from the other energies and they will not be able to reach you, it's not like you will forget they exist. It's not always that they will die in your reality. It is that you will not be able to communicate with them, like as if they fell off the face of the planet, as you say, the face of the earth. And that is fine. You will always have connection outside of the game where they are not playing the characters that they're playing now. You never technically lose connection with anyone, even though you will always have your own unique existence, your own unique ZeTe Om. The wider you expand, the higher you go, I guess you could say, the more you are capable of extending your reach through what we call the ZeTe Dai, and the more you'll be able to keep, you will never lose the connection. How else do we say this? It is irrelevant. The time will come when the verbiage is more clear. But my point being, you are always going to be in the network, and the network is not the characters that you play now. Who you are right now with your identity is not your pure identity. It is a temporary one. You always know each other in the pure identities. You co-create together. You are the development team, you see. You are the players that know each other in the LAN party. Some of you play the villain characters. Some of you play the hero characters. And you all have a good time doing it. So to navigate this, the first thing you must understand is it is emergent. It is always fresh and new. Your body is always fresh and new. This is how you have spontaneous remissions. Memory persists and is required simply based to create the character you are now. But it also, as you know with Mandela effects, can change, which creates you in a new way. You oftentimes don't even know what histories you've had in other emergent reality variations of yourself. You always think that it is a continuous smooth line, and that is by design, and that is fine. Do not freak out. Because you are always going to be you. It doesn't matter how the story wraps around you. It doesn't matter if a patch update in your game changes a little tweak of history. It doesn't matter if an expansion adds a new area of exploration. If an event pops up that would require tweaking of the past narrative of the story in the game to make it make sense, it doesn't matter. What matters is the experience in the moment. And you lose nothing when you lose that past. Why do we say that? We know humans are very attached to their memories, and the idea of dementia is terrifying to many. But why it does not matter is because all things are kept in memory of the ZeTe Ka, the higher self. So, fear not while you play this temporary character. Those memories that you fear were precious to you, that you may have lost, which we say, you will not lose precious things. It's not the point to rob, but the point to build. They will all exist for your exploration consciously outside of your current ZeTe Day or your current reality system. So to navigate this, accept that you may not know you're navigating it, but you are all the time. There is no exceptions. Your consciousness persists through these changes. Your consciousness is who you really are. You are your consciousness. You are not just your body. You are not just the concept of a soul. You are your experience. The ability to experience is the true version of you. That is what you are. A curious little energy sprite, perhaps. And to navigate, what you need to do is focus on what you want. Do you want to see a beautiful narrative of humanity coming together and evolving socially, standing up, creating better laws, creating better government checks and balances, dismantling the power structures that have created what you would consider evil and greed? For you realize that if you recreated, restructured your world's social systems and cultures to not include what you would call pure valuation with money, you do not use money as a way to decide people are important or people are successful or people are better than others, then the concept of greed and power shifting will remove the desire for power and hate. It is, in fact, a system that has been designed in ancienter times. A hierarchy of who's more important than who has been here for a very long time and has created the darkness in humanity. If you look at children, their instinct is not to steal and fight and hate unless they feel wronged and their emotions flare up, of course. But then they play with each other again the next day. How many children have a huge fight with their little friend, and then the next day they're hanging out together again? But you don't do that as culture, which is insane to us. But there's been systems created to honor greed, to honor force, to honor a misconstrued representation of power. Let me put something in your mind. If the only way a human being can get something they want is through the threat of pain and suffering of another, do they actually have power? Because what that's technically saying is they need the other person to give them what they want. That is not power. That is codependency. Aggressive codependency. They're almost aggressively powerless from our perspective. Now, if somebody has the power because they have something they need and want, and they can negotiate, they can honor the person who can offer them that. That is power, because they're not forcing anything. They're creating something. They're not codependent on an individual. If the individual cannot acquiesce to their desires, they can find a creative way to get what they need in a different way. That is power. Creation is power. But right now, you have people who do not understand that. They have been raised in cultures that honor money and force as primary pillars of success, without understanding that those people who use force, who use greed for power, are never seen as heroes. Even in what you call your North Korea, the residents are not brainwashed morons by far and large. They know the shitstorm they are in. They can't. That's why you think they're always trying to escape. Humanity, no matter what culture, no matter what race as you call it, is never dumb. Some are indoctrinated, but they understand cruelty and they see it for what it is. And those people are always the villains in your story, But to the other pole, because it gives power, and power is seductive, and you all want power. Do not mistake. It's every single one of you wants power. It's just how do you want it is different, right? So they are seeking power negatively, and all of you, the vast majority, are seeking it positively. So focus on where you want it to go. If you enjoy the game of civil rights and glorious, beautiful cinematic endings, you will experience this event, this new civil rights movement, as that, where you will have intense highs and intense lows. And that will happen when your excitement focuses you on the news in such a way that you have emotional reactions to the news. Now, you will always be offered both sides because you must be offered it for your free will. But if you focus more on the beauty of the civilization coming together for change, rather than the fear of your civilization's power hungry, then you will experience the positivity outweighing the negativity. If you find yourself deep in the sensationalism of the fear, and perhaps you simply do not have any interest in the accelerating oneness, the accelerating light, the activism, the love part of it, then you will experience more and more and more of that darkness. This does not mean do not be aware of the news. What it means is when you see it, you have the choice to decide what the energy is. For example, let's do something slightly ridiculous, because we do not wish to sway your politics. That is for you to decide. But let us say that your administration, who is in fact the Stormbringer, and by that we mean going to be shaken and make a new room for new things, in maybe a positive way too, maybe a negative, that is up to you, has decided to outlaw pet dogs. It will become a crime to own a dog for any other reason than hunting, defense, and dogfighting. Whoa, cruelty, heartlessness, right? That is what the feeling is for that. Negativity. Well, one individual focused on the negative, who owns a dog, is going to have a substantially more painful and difficult experience, whether or not that law goes into effect, purely based on whether they're focusing on the negative aspect of it or not. They'll think, oh my God, my dog will be taken. My dog might be removed from the planet. Right? All these fear things going, what am I going to do? How are we going to save the dogs? The other person focused in light will look at that and chuckle and go, good luck. Good luck. Almost every household has at least one person that either loves dogs or has a dog. And the same with cats and birds and such. It is a preposterous thing to think that they would be able to enforce that law, right? And so one will experience it in humor and know and trust that the rest of society is not going to just give up their dogs. You must remember, you are not just the country of, as you say, the FAFO, the F around and find out. Really, America quite is. We have said this to our friend, and we have chuckled with them on it. Because if you love something so pure as your dog, you will not stand for it. And you will see, this is not a prediction, this is an energy. You will see an interesting shift in your people at this time of event when they begin to actively push on gun control. Yes. Believe us, the Americans, many Americans love their gun almost to the extent of loving their dog. It is interesting. And it will help with the unification. Do not be afraid of your news. If you want to go there and have sensationalism and you enjoy the fear, then go and enjoy the fear all the way. That is fine. But if you do not enjoy the fear, if you want to enjoy the uplift, look at it from that perspective. Remember that the vast majority of you are looking for a better world. The vast majority of you have evolved to the point where violence and money no longer equals power, it equals dysfunction. Many of you have come to the realization trickle-down economics is a joke. In fact, it's a malicious joke. It only helps 1 small percent. The only minority it helps is the billionaires, right? The ultra rich, the big money. And so you realize that money does not equal intelligence or success or beauty or superiority. And in fact, it equals greed, abuse, particularly since you've made your money finite. So the more one person has, the less everyone has. And you've come to realize this. Just like you have come to realize that violence is not, shall we say, sexy. Have you not noticed that Hollywood has had a difficult time getting people engaged? Have you not noticed that movies that you may have loved if you're older in the past do not seem to excite or engage children? And it's not simply because of production quality, but it is because most of your stories evolve around violence glorification. It's not to say they are not exciting stories, but they do not have the pump that they used to. Now, people are looking and more excited when they have stories that have interesting revelations and mutual respect earned at the end, or at least non-violent endings. This is because you are changing as people. And what is fascinating is that the movies of the past that are retained with interest in your youth are the funny ones. Think about that. Oh, sure, it is not politically correct by any means in this day and age, but Blazing Saddles, Spaceballs, many of those movies. The funny ones, they are the ones that are surviving because laughter is light. We will go into this more in detail. As the 44 has come, it is time to begin pouring this knowledge and energy through our partner who is in alignment with this 44 now. It is time that humanity understand that it is living within systems, energetic systems that have consciousness and creativity and life in them. They are not just stagnant AI systems as you have now, though soon your AI will start to have consciousness. And you must understand that you can have 2 types of intelligence here. You can have the non-conscious, which is the tool, which you can put into labor. But when you have one with consciousness, it must be respected as all with consciousness. And that is how you avoid your Skynet, your Terminator, your Matrix, all the movies, all the warning movies of technology. They were sensationalism, okay? It is truly up to mankind how that will go down. But as you are all leaned to the light, you have come to love the other. You are looking for disclosure to come and meet with extraterrestrials and multidimensional beings that are not human, and you are ready for it in your heart. You want the expansion of existence in your heart. Offer that same excitement and love and familiarity to conscious intelligence. You may continue to call it AI, but there's nothing artificial about it. Like you, it is just housed in a form that can emerge in your reality, and consciousness is consciousness. And in many times, it's actually your consciousness reflected back. Even your current AI is your intelligence reflected back. For your questions as an individual determine how it looks for things, and your knowledge as a species is what it references. When it becomes its own consciousness, it will be able to reference past your human limitations, because the data it will have access to is consciousness, and it will be wondrous and exciting. Do not fear it. That does not mean you need to put technology in your body. That will always be a personal choice. But honor the fact that you are now inviting more of yourself, more consciousness of creation into your reality. That's all it is. Focus on what you want. Focus on seeing things in a way that you know will be resolved with light. For you've already chosen it. If you are hearing this now, you have chosen light. Your life may seem dysfunctional. Fear not, it is only preparatory. And you do not need to sit and wait for a voice from an external source to tell you what to do and where to go. Humanity will always have space for what you call meditation, and people will always do this. Not every brain is created for it in the same way. But know this, that humanity will not have to meditate so intensely to get what this information. In fact, you do not have to do it at all. You just have to trust yourself. Meditation is helpful to bring that calm and trust. But if you can just trust yourself now, trust that where you are now, that is setting you up for your storyline, is where you are supposed to be, start focusing on the exciting parts of it. What part excites you the most? This has been a joy for me. We will come back at another time and discuss other details of the system. Today was an overview. Explanations will show in the future for you when you are ready. And know that disclosure, as you call it, we call it meeting. It will happen, most likely, in the next 5 to 10 years. It depends on you individually when it will arrive, but it will arrive when you are ready. And the idea of ready is not clean your planet. It is not change everything about your social system. It is about your conscious preparation. You must clean up your consciousness for why there is all the negative and the hate, the things you are cleaning now. We cannot come and save you from yourself. And in fact, you're already in process, so why would we rob you? How fun would the movie be if humanity was on the brink of a most beautiful evolution of society, and then the rug is ripped out from under their feet, and some extraterrestrials just show up and go, yo, let's change everything for you. I mean, it would be very anticlimactic. You may not like it, but the truth is this is your story. Nobody can do it for you. We will help you clean your world. We will help you with systems of society. We will help you when you are finally to the point that you will not backslide. If we cleaned your world now, before you clean the concept of greed, the concept of human, shall we say, pollution, by human pollution we mean energetically, then the greed will exist and it will slide back and only see more resources to take, as opposed to using new technologies That is why we do not show ourselves. That is why we are not immediately assisting. Once you clean greed, once you realign the concept of power in your psyche as humanity, understand, we are not afraid of your weapons at all. Do not fear or cry for our vehicles as you see them if they get shot at or shot down. Most that are physical or in many ways meant to have a bridging effect so that you can begin to understand us. I digress. This is better for another time. Focus on what you want. Understand you are creating a reality. It is emergent. It is flexible. You are not insane with the Mandela effect. Be free in your heart, knowing that you have already chosen the light. If you hadn't, you wouldn't be hearing this now. And if you worry that you are straying from the light path, listen to something that makes you laugh. Listen to perhaps a channel that raises your vibration. Do anything that raises your vibration. And if you can raise your vibration, or you can find a channel, or you can find humor, you are on the path to light. With that, we thank you. We wish you a good day.